doing, Mr. Warnock? I'm Luis from Telemundo. There is some many comments about how important is the Latino voters vote for this election for Democrats. But why now in Georgia is important? In the past, I covered too many elections, and I never saw Democrats trying to reach Latino voters. And in other side, you can see Hispanics are very disappointed because never happened an immigration reform in the past. What you can tell, or what you can tell to these people that you can do something this time?
We need comprehensive immigration reform, and it's very urgent that we get this done now. You can count on me to be an ally, to make sure that we keep the promise that we made to Dreamers. And we certainly have got to push hard against the kind of cruelty that we've seen in recent years. Children in cages, separated from their families. It is un-American, and it ought to shock the conscience of people of faith and people of moral bearing. And so those are the values that I will bring to the public policy conversation. And we've got to do something about the 12 million folks who are living in the shadows in our country and provide a real path to a dignified citizenship.
Why is it important, the Latino vote?
Why is what?
The Latino vote right now, why is it important this time?
Oh, when I think about the Latinx community or Latino community, I think that the issues and concerns that people have for their families in general matter to that community. Here we are in the middle of a COVID-19 crisis. Folks have lost loved ones. Others have lost livelihoods. The other day I was out in Forest Park visiting Latino businesses. And I was so inspired by the way in which they're holding it together without much help from Washington. We haven't seen any COVID relief in months. And when the relief came, the Shake Shacks of the world, the large corporate and well-connected interests were at the front of the line. Small businesses like the ones I visited the other day were at the back of the line. And so we need a COVID-19 stimulus package. We need to make sure that it gets to the people who actually need it. And then as we move past that, we need to make sure that we provide small businesses the development opportunities that are available.
Yeah, but why is it important, the Latino vote, for you to win this election?
Well, it's very important. I mean, I believe, as I said earlier, I'm in love with humanity. And so for me, the Latino community is important. Brown community is important. Black community is important. White sisters and brothers, we need a multiracial coalition to push this country closer toward its values.
Reverend Warnock piensa que todos cuentan y quiere invertir en todas familias. La comunidad latina está creciendo en Georgia y es tan importante que la comunidad latina está registrado y que voten el 5 de enero. Tenemos oportunidad a invertir en más empleos, oportunidades de educación, un plan de salud, pero es posible nomás si el Reverend Warnock y John Ossoff son senadores. Y quiero pedir el apoyo de la comunidad latina.
Reverend Warnock, we've seen pretty clearly from the... I'm Ryan Noble. We saw pretty clearly in the debate on Sunday how the Republicans want to characterize you. repeated over and over again, radical, liberal. They also appear to be focusing all their energy in both campaigns directly on you. What do you say to moderate voters, that are in the middle of the political sphere, maybe even lean right? Will you be able to stand up to Chuck Schumer when you get to the Senate and put the interests of the Georgia voter ahead of maybe just the interests of the Democratic Party at large? What would you say to those moderate voters?
I'm very clear about who I'm supposed to represent when I go to the Senate. The people of Georgia. And it's Kelly Loeffler who said that she's 100% with Trump. And when I point that out, although, obviously I don't stand with him, I'm really not making a political point as much as I'm speaking about the principle of what it means to represent people. I just think that's a bizarre statement for a senator to make. I'm there to represent the people of Georgia and their interests and their concerns. And it doesn't help people whether they're in the middle of the road or consider themselves more to the right or to the left, for our businesses to be closing and shuttered, and there's no relief for us not to get this pandemic under control so we can safely reopen our economy. And then beyond that, I think it's important for us to start thinking beyond how we survive the pandemic and begin to think actually about how we thrive on the other side of the pandemic, which is why I think we need thoughtful and historic investment in America. We need to reinvest in our infrastructure, rebuild our roads, bridges. I think the brokenness of our infrastructure is a reflection of our broken politics. And I think that kind of effort, when it's rightly organized, can help people regardless of the politics.
Just to follow up quickly though, what would you say to voters that might be concerned about Democrats controlling everything in Washington? What role would you play in all this?
I think the problem is that the voices of the people have been diminished in our politics. Whether we're talking about the outsized influence of the well-connected or voter suppression. I believe so firmly in democracy. For me, democracy actually is the political expression of a sacred idea, the affirmation of the self-worth of every human being. It's the best system we've got. And my concern is that the voices of the people have been squeezed out of the politics, and the politics has too often been about the politicians. So the pundits can have all this conversation about the right, the left. I'm focused on the difference between right and wrong.
So is it your message then that you wouldn't be 100% with Minority Leader Schumer or President-elect Biden?
No, I'm 100% with the people of Georgia, and I will absolutely stand up to whomever I need to stand up to represent their interests.
Thank you. I'm sure it's not lost on you the history being the first black senator in Georgia. The history of the runoff race originally set to disenfranchise the black voting bloc. So what would it mean for you to be the first black senator in this state and kind of historic with the runoff being happening?
Well, there's no question that representation matters. And when we bring diversity to the table, I think we create better public policy. But none of that happens unless we show up. And so I intend to represent all the people of Georgia. When I go through rural Georgia, they're often surprised that I'm there because they haven't seen Senate candidates. They're used to folks focusing, on the metro area. But I'm clear that I'm trying to represent all the people of Georgia, and that's what I intend to do.
Secretary Castro, do you have any closing words about your historic candidacy or anything you want to do?
I'm very proud of the campaign that Reverend Warnock has run. It's a historic campaign with a historic opportunity. Think about it. How many other times have we seen 2 Senate runoffs happening in one state that are going to determine the balance of power in the United States Senate? To answer your question, if Mitch McConnell is given the keys to the Senate again, nothing is going to get done for the people of Georgia. Nothing is going to get done in our time of need when people need to get their small businesses back up and going, when folks need to get back to work, when we need to distribute that vaccine so that we can get past this pandemic, when millions of folks around the country are about to be evicted from their homes, when people are going to get booted off their mortgage. All Mitch McConnell is going to do, with the help of Loeffler and Perdue, if they're reelected, is to block everything. Nothing will get done on behalf of Georgia. We simply cannot afford right now for Mitch McConnell to have the keys to the Senate again so that nothing gets done in people's greatest time of need. We need to elect Reverend Warnock so that we can actually get good things done on jobs, on small businesses, on health care, on this vaccine, and have a brighter future.
That's all the time we have.
Reverend Warnock,
Thanks so
please,
much.
a question from Norwegian Public Television. Please.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
One question.